that abuse is inevitable. So to them, this is just rocks and a means to an end. So they can break these rocks, use it for buildings and all of that. What we should be advocating for is the preservation of some of these sites. You understand? They don't know any better. They are just doing work and they're being paid for it. You understand? Because to them, this is just rocks. I feel that if they are being sensitized and the awareness is created and people know that this is a tourist site. In all other parts of the world, most of these tourist sites are preserved. You understand? So hopefully we can, get to that point where we can create some sort of security and some sort of preservative measures for the tourist sites that we have.
Perhaps the first challenge Nigeria faces with tourism is little or no information about our tourist sites. Henry Orji has been taking pictures here for about 4 years now, but he didn't know that he's been shooting at the center of Nigeria all the while until we told him. And because of this ignorance of what we have, Nigerians contribute billions of dollars to the economies of other countries in search for tourist attractions, thus undervaluing our own tourism potential and hurting the economy.
Look at Dubai. Everybody is wanting or clamoring to go to Dubai. And Dubai just have oil, but then invested in tourism. Dubai don't even have these natural monuments that we have. Most of their tourism are artificial. You go to Dubai and they take you to desert. Then you go and play with sand. I don't understand. While in Yobe here, we have those things. We have those sand there. I don't understand. See, Nigeria is losing a lot. And I tell you, the moment we start opening our eyes to the tourism potentials in Nigeria, that time we'll start investing in our youth. That time we'll start investing in Nigeria.
Stakeholders have repeatedly called on the government to promote Katampe Hills to befitting standards. But the call seems to be falling on deaf ears, despite its money-spinning potential.
If I say to you now that there is a restaurant at the center of Nigeria, everybody would like to go to that restaurant. Imagine they built a restaurant here, or they created some little chalets around here just so that when foreigners come in, there are other things other than just, because I feel like if you just climb there, the only thing that you see is the view, really. But that's all. It's not like the view is the greatest view in the world. But I feel like there's so many things that the government can put in place. Like I said, restaurants, maybe hotels, maybe playgrounds, whatever it is, just to beautify the places, and also somehow pump some of our resources in terms of finances into these tourist places. We definitely, maybe not now, but in the nearest future, we will be reaping from it.
Tourism has the potential to involve everybody because the tourism market is big. It covers food, it covers transportation, it covers everything, security. Even cameramen would do a lot of things. Craftsmen. Tourism is big. It's big. It can employ. See, Nigeria alone can run on tourism and everybody will be happy.
Since Nigeria has so much economic potential, why are her people poor? Since pre-colonial Nigeria had successful empires and kingdoms, why is her government below par? Since her history is so great, why aren't her people proud of her present? The answer is so simple that Nigerians echo it with one voice.
Our leaders,
selfishness,
the leaders, our government,
corruption,
lack of employment.
Here, the popular belief is that government officials extort the masses and serve their own interests rather than the public's. This high level of corruption is probably the greatest challenge of the country, and only when her public servants abide by the true essence of service and Nigerians become awake to their obligations will Nigeria become a better country for us all.
father-in-law of His Eminence, the Sheikh and Olori Mansour Al-Mansur Williams.
My father-in-law is the most simple and most religious man I've ever seen. The relationship between myself and himself is very cordial, and I thank God for his advices. Whenever my wife and my kids go over to his place for a visit, we are always over-pampered and we are never in a hurry to leave. I thank God for his life and I wish him all the best, and may he enjoy the fruits of his labor.
When I last visited Lagos, my father-in-law was so hospitable and welcoming. He gave us his drive and vehicle to go sightseeing, and his warmth and hospitality remains the same when he visits the UK. He loved seeing his grandchildren and having us around. I remember seeing the pictures from the naming ceremony he held in Lagos for my son and thinking of his generosity and affection towards his family. I have also heard how this is extended beyond his family. My children love that and look forward to seeing him.
I think the word that comes to mind now when I think about my father-in-law, when I think about the Sheikh, is fun. How jovial he is as a person, and that is, on first impression, that's probably not the first impression you get really about the Sheikh. Once you think about the Sheikh, or when you see him for the very first time, you see the tough exterior, you see a disciplinarian, you see a no nonsense person, and he's all of that. But in addition to that, once you get to know him, and once you get to know him, you find out that he's a fun, charismatic, quite chatty person. You never run out of topics to discuss when you're talking with the Sheikh. Always use the opportunity to also impart important nuggets of wisdom. I always enjoy having conversations with him when we're fortunate to, when we're opportune to. So that's, I think, the first thing, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about the Sheikh. His jovial nature, his chatty nature, how it just makes you feel welcome in and around his presence.
His Eminence Sheikh Prince Mohammed Mansour Al-Mansur Williams believes he wouldn't have been quite the man he is today without the love and support of his first wife, the late Olori Monsurat Adeola Williams, fondly known as Onidoko, who passed on in 1989 at the tender age of 32 years. Over 3 decades after her passing, Olori Monsurat Adeola Williams remains a towering and unbeatable presence in the life of the Williams family, as attested to by the thoughtful acts of remembrance, large and small, that the Sheikh and his household carry out in her memory. Sheikh Williams remembers the late Olori as an exceptional and irreplaceable epitome of every positive human virtue. She was the embodiment of humility and unconditional respect for persons, irrespective of their station in life. In spite of her privileged upbringing, Olori Monsurat Adeola Williams was submissive to a fault, not just to her husband or her parents and in-laws, but to all who came her way. Over the years, many have posed this question: why would a crown prince from the 2 ruling houses of Lagos Island, a bona fide Eko blue blood, choose to set up his business organization, including his signature, the first Islamic English Education Foundation Academy, in Okota of all places? And why would he eventually settle there with his family for good? In a status-conscious society such as ours, and in the face of the island-mainland dichotomy that prevails in Lagos in particular.
At the time I acquired a property here, this place called Okota, in fact, most average Nigerians, they cannot even afford, if there's any, that time, of course there wasn't any, afford the accommodation in this place called Okota. I can remember some 40 years back, 40 years plus back, Okota used to be called Victoria Island of Lagos. Those are the came after us. I don't want to use their term. I'm only telling you. That's how expensive. Okota, as at that time, I think of that time, more expensive than today called Banana Island. For you to be able to acquire property in this so-called Okota of a place. But that's a whole story now. Don't forget, Okota was so strategically placed, especially for those of entrepreneur, business, proximity to all the seaports, and the possibility to all the national, international airports. So, it makes it easier for us to travel out and come back, not going through the hassle of traffic all over the place.
The working class hustle and bustle of Okota is a world away from the chic glamour and elegance of the island, with its fashionable tree-lined neighborhoods, its fine waterfront residences, and the sleek automobiles that ply.
I did not acquire this property for what it is today. I acquired it as a place for holiday. Well, it was quite far. Don't forget, I'm a Lagos Island person. Okota was quite far. Okota, to me, just like my mother would tell you that time, my mother says Okota is out of Lagos. Okota is so Okota was quite far. Because at the time I acquired this Okota, I live in Surulere. But at the time I developed Okota, I moved to Victoria Island. So even from Surulere to here is far. How much more Victoria Island to this place is quite far. But eventually, I developed the place for my holiday resort. And then I'll be coming out for holiday, seeing it as a very far place, as a Western region, as we normally call it those days. As eventually, the issue of Islam propagation setting into my life. Yes, I've gotten this property and the building here some 7 years before turning to what it is today in 1985. It has been here